about energy service. Talk about energy services and what we provide for our members. Do an update on energy tips and program updates for the winter. And of course, we reminder about energy services is our team is about focusing on the product we sell electricity to our members and trying to educate them in all things of energy use, how to better manage their energy, solar PV, heat pumps, versus gas heating, dual fuel, how to manage and keep your power bill low, and also financing and helping members get to a more efficient system in their home. And as we get into the winter bills, we want to recognize certain appliances do drive the bill a lot more than other appliances. The ones that pull a lot per hour, kilowatt hours per hour, are the ones that's going to really give us a high bill and heartburn and members calling in, complaining about bills. And of course, looking at efficiency really does matter. If you look at the heat pump in the heating mode versus going for a even strip heat, it can be a whole lot higher when you got strip heat coming in. Electric space heater, like a 1,500-watt space heater, just running half the month would cost about $66 per month for half the hours in the month. And if it ran the entire month, would be double that. So like $120, $125 in a month just for one space heater. And how many members do you talk to on high bills that actually end up being like two space heaters in the house, or they have one in the bedroom, one in the living room, one in the kitchen? They got three running, and that can really run up a power bill for our members. And little loads add up too. When somebody comes in and adds like a pool, an outside pool, like a fountain or something like that, those small loads can add up also to increasing power bills for members. And we'll talk about like well pumps, can be a problem too. And looking at the small loads, like what makes up, the use per hour, and kind of break down and think about it from that perspective as we get into understanding demand, understanding what kilowatt hours members use in a month. If you break it down into the small components, if you look at a refrigerator uses 150 watts of power, or about 0.15 kilowatt hours per hour. If you added to that, somebody took a shower and it ran 15 minutes out that hour, would use 1/4 of what that would use if it ran all hour long, 4.5 kilowatt hours, so about 1.1 kilowatt hours. You add those together, and that's the total for the entire hour, or 1.3 kilowatt hours an hour. And this goes on throughout the entire day, where you have a cooling system running and adding to the water heater, it's adding to the base load in the house. And all these add to the peak use in the member's house. And of course, when we get into talking about the three-part rate later on, those peaks, do add up, especially if you get into a three-part rate. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more into details. A typical cooling system, we'll use about, for a 1,500 square foot house, about 2 tons or about 2 kilowatt hours an hour to cool a house if it's around 1,500 square feet. Per hour, and that unit's got to run, when it's hot, it's got to run, lots and lots and lots of hours. But you'll see that on the load on the member's house. But what really drives power bills from members? During the going Christmas, going into January bills, what the members typically say is causing their bill to be high? Christmas lights. So, and that's a very, very small part of it. Is it really Christmas lights, or is there something else you think out there? What do you think is driving those power bills? Oh, the heat. Oh, yeah, the heat. And that's absolutely right. That's what's driving up the power bills. Is they members will tell us they're, don't watch TV. They really cook. Not even home at all. I mean, how many of us have cats or dogs at home and it's nice and comfortable in the house? y'all have your thermostat set good for your cat and a dog so they're comfy? So, so that can lead to a much higher power bill, except when it gets colder outside. So they probably will like it. They probably like it. My cat loves to go outside at night, so he's an outsider in the middle of the night, especially even in cold. He goes for it. So a lot of entertainment out there for cats. But big drivers, of course, gonna be HVAC and also electric water heating can add up. How many of you have teenagers and the shower's gone from like 5 minutes to now it's 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, 30 minutes. This is like an auction. 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So, and we can do, how much is that going to cost you per hour, compared, in an all month long. So it adds up a whole lot, from that standpoint. Um, you know, it could be 7, 10, and it adds up, to be a lot. But talking about winter heating tips, is the central heating system a heat pump or is it electric furnace? And the easy way, if you're talking to a member on the phone, is if they walk outside and look at their outside unit and that fan is running, the compressor is running outside, it is a heat pump. If the outside compressor and fan are not running and blowing, basically colder air out of that unit, it's running on electric resistive heat. And that's going to be, 3 times to up to 4 times as much cost to heat the home with the electric furnace or electric resistive heat as it is going to be with the heat pump. So it's a lot lower bills with the heat pump running. And then the recommended thermostat setting is always going to be on automatic instead of being on. On means that it's running on the fan is blowing 24 hours a day, all the time. It's blowing. And typically, our members have ductwork that's actually in the attic or outside underneath the crawl space. And so that ductwork is exposed to outside temperatures, and you got to pay for the energy in that fan. So it leads to higher bills if we leave that fan on. And we'll talk about, of course, the Ecobee thermostat later on. You can take the smart thermostat and set it so that you can run it, say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, let it run to roll over the air and make it even temperature between a downstairs and upstairs and have it run some. But you don't want to run it all the time. A heat pump running, when it's, a lot or all the time, when it's above 40 degrees, will let you know that there's something wrong. There's the ductwork is bad, the unit is not working like it's supposed to. Something's wrong if it's running all the time when it's above 40 degrees, in the mid 40s. So it needs to be serviced. It needs to be cutting on and cutting off, at that temperature. Is the unit outside unit, is it freezing up? The coil is freezing up and not throwing back out. That's a defrost problem. Typically, it's dirty coils, there's a dirty filter inside, or the unit has improper refrigerant charge, and it needs to be serviced by a heating and air contractor. And of course, we have our loan programs. The Energy Advanced Loan Contractor List, HVAC companies can do a great job of servicing that unit. And we recommend at least once to 2 times a year to have that unit serviced. Clean it, make sure it's running properly, every year. And then we talk about looking at the hourly data. Of course, if a member has the Smart Hub app, and they can use and look at the hourly kilowatt hour use compared to weather, they'll see that as it gets colder, then their power use is going up. So that's a good indication that it's not maybe Christmas lights. Don't you think? It's getting colder outside and the bill's going up. This is an example of a home that's in Berkeley Country Club, and they had this member. She had set her thermostat on emergency heat instead of on the heat pump or automatic mode. And if you look at these are basically the same temperature on the days. And if you look at the bottom, this is when she was running on the electric resistive or electric furnace mode, and see her power use in the middle of the night when it's down and close to freezing is 7, 8, 9 kilowatt hours, and actually, it grows as it gets closer to daylight. And then when you're running the heat pump mode, it's actually running less than 2 kilowatt hours, and it's balancing to have a little bit of strip heat running, just barely part of the hour running, but it's on that compressor throughout the whole night. Way, way, way lower power bill, power use, in the heat pump mode. And then looking at the kilowatt hour use for the member, up through the 20th of the month, when it got cold, the power was jumping up to 120, 130 kilowatt hours a day, compared to after she contacted the member, and on the 20th of December, at the end of the month, you can see it drop down to like 30, 40 kilowatt hours in a day. So which would you rather pay, 130, 140 kilowatt hours a day, or 30 kilowatt hours a day? That's a whole lot lower bill, from that standpoint. So that's what, just the difference of changing from emergency heat to automatic on the heat pump is what that change was. So, and as it gets colder outside in the 40s, balance point for a heat pump is just when it gets so cold outside that the compressor is running all the time, and it needs a little bit of backup heat from the electric resistive heat to maintain the temperature in the house. And that's what we call an balance point, and that's when the bills do jump up, during that time period. Things can drive that, even higher as a thermostat setting. If a member sets it up, too warm in the wintertime, it'll cause the unit to run a whole lot more and have a whole lot higher bill. If the unit's not working like it's supposed to, it's going to be a higher bill. But typically, and talking about the efficiency, heat pumps are very efficient. When they get down, the efficiency in the milder temperatures about almost 4.5 times as much heat for compared to electroresistive, even getting down to freezing and below, to in the low 20s. It is 3 times more efficient for the heat pump during that time period. So you want that unit to run. Members will call up and say, "Hey, my unit is running all the time. My heat pump is running all the time." And that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to run and keep the house warm and run that efficient, heat pumping during that time periods. And as it gets colder outside, really adds to what we were talking about earlier about, how much is the use per hour on an appliance. In the milder temperatures before it's really having to run a lot, you're talking about less than 1 kilowatt hour an hour. Down in the 40s, low 40s, like running all the time just on the compressor, like 1.5 to 2 kilowatt hours an hour, similar to like a cooling system. But when you drop down below the balance point, then that strip heat comes in. You start adding up, and 3, 4, 5, 6 kilowatt hours an hour, for the heat when you have that strip heat running. So that's, very important to maintain that unit's working properly. And then your thermostat setting is not too, really hot, warm, really super warm in the house. It really adds to a bill. And when we talk to members and their unit's not working properly, they're motivated to invest in the home and try to make it more energy efficient. We recommend a home advantage loan program, and that's when we do the professional audit with Loretta, Josh, and then Mark Timms also. We offer, of course, the 5% interest financing up to $20,000 for 10 years. I did a hand twice. 10 years. And then ductwork. We do a ductwork test to identify, does the ductwork need to be replaced? The home leakage, and kind of like a scorecard of saying you have leaks in your attic access. And we put like attic tents. And members will put those attic tents in themselves, right? Yeah. So basically, very simple. It's basically a curtain that's in the attic side, and it zippers to get in and out of it, but it prevents the air from going from outside the house and the attic into the home. And a lot of times, your return is going to be very close to that attic access too. So it's pulling the attic air right straight into the return. But yeah, the digital temperature gun is really helpful for checking the temperature difference in the home. In the wintertime, we should see, 15 to 20 degree temperature difference, so much warmer. Like if you have it set at 70, it should be, closer to 90 degrees for your supply temperature in the winter for a heat pump. So if it's not that much, then there's a problem with the unit. It's not working like it's supposed to. And the blower door simply, when we put a curtain in the front door and blow air out, and from that we find the leaks in the homes, whether it be in the ductwork or shell around the breaker panel and you know underneath the sink in the bathroom, just wherever it is, and we'll write up that as hey, you got to do this, like homework. It's like homework for the members. Um, and earlier we had conversations about members that have all propane heat or all natural gas heat. What can they do to be more energy efficient? And we recommend the dual fuel program. We'll talk about the balance point. When you get into that emergency heat, instead of having the electric resistive heat, you can have the heat pump backed up by gas heat, whether it be propane or whether it be natural gas. And the heat pump itself, that compressor, normally does 85% of the total energy needs of the winter, and just that 15-20% is from the backup. So with this program, the member is definitely saving a whole lot, on their power bill. So and the savings as far as rebates, of course, we do $1,000 if it was gas and they go over to propane, from propane over to the heat pump and backup dual fuel. And then if they get an Energy Star unit, which is from the rating, if anybody heard of Energy Star before? Energy Star rated appliances. That's basically the energy efficiency from the federal government, how they set up the standards, and if it's more efficient than that, or if it meets that standard, then you can get additional federal rebates up to $2,000 for the dual fuel. So it's a lot of savings. And just even if somebody changed out a natural gas unit over to heat pump, period, they're going to see savings, per season. So it's a great unit. From electricity and wiring standpoint, if somebody had an old house, propane heat, and a central air conditioner, going to dual fuel, they would not have to upgrade their electric service, because the heat pump part uses is similar to what the air conditioner used. So they wouldn't have to upgrade the service. That can be a big savings, especially had an old house in Canehoy or something like that, maybe. So Cindy used to, the family did anyway. They're still there. So, I don't know if you want to do no hot water. For the water heater, any questions back on the heat pump of dual fuel? I mean, we're seeing that become more popular, and as the rebates are really help lower that cost. So, and of course, the loan program is great. And members love the Home Advantage loan program, because Loretta's going out there and actually doing the inspections, and Josh and Mark, and trusting that we have almost like a third party that's is actually taking care of their needs. They can trust us to make sure the contractor does the work properly. And if these contractors don't do a good job, then we remove them from our list. So it's very important. Very nice service. We'll talk about the, about this, or
So, one of the things everybody knows we have is the H2O Select and H2O Advantage program. And let's say a member calls into the contact center or contacts one of our member service reps and they have a leaking hot water heater. Shouldn't say hot water though. It's just a leaking water heater. Um, anyway, so that they have a leaking water heater, or let's say they don't have any hot water. Sometimes you guys will put in a ticket in Zoho and refer it to me or Mark. But if we're not there to get the ticket, then that member is not being served. So what we want you to do is go in and do an auto outage ticket so that it goes straight to dispatch and they can contact the plumber and have the plumber dispatched more quickly. Um, we don't need to be involved in that transaction. We can be, but it's better if we just do the auto outage feature. So it just kind of happens and we just get the paperwork at the back end of it. Um, and that's about all I have to say about that. Sometimes people will call and they have questions about the program. We're happy to take those calls. Or they maybe they're not participating in the program, but but they do have a water heater issue. We could still help them. But we just have to understand what their situation is and um, have the plumber go out there and we can still do on bill financing if they want a new water heater, want to do financing on it, or if they have a switch but they're not in H2O Select, we could still send the plumber out there to diagnose the switch. If they determine the switch is not the problem, they can figure out what is the problem, tell the member what it will cost, but we can sign them up for Select because they have the switch. We will waive the 30-day waiting period and fix it and cover it. We won't replace the tank that way. You still have to wait 30 days to replace the tank, but we will do a repair if we have a switch in place.
It drives, bills up. Small things can actually drive up bills. If somebody has a well pump and it's running all the time, that can add up, 75, $80 per month just from the well itself. We talked about the space heater, just one running all the time, $125 a month. And then we recommend the heating cooling system. Always set it on automatic and not on the fan on because it definitely drives up, power bills. And then we'll see sometimes members will add stuff to their load in their homes and don't realize that they're actually adding even like a little an aquarium that's got the water heated all the time can add up, maybe 300 watts of heat on it. That's like adding two refrigerators a month, running all the time. So they do add up, just these small things. And then we'll talk about smart thermostats and a real smart employee.
Um, so thermostat program, we have two ways you can sign up. One, members can sign up to purchase an ecobee from us. First one is basically free. Any additional ones are $150 plus tax. They just go on the website and sign up. And then we, as you guys know, get it to the district office closest to them for them to pick it up. Um, and then this is an example of a member that got two thermostats. And usually I'm going to say it's 2 months after they pick it up because I usually like to give them a little while to get it hooked up. Some people get them installed right as soon as they get home that day. Some it takes a while. Some takes a little prodding to remind them to get them installed and connected. Otherwise, they get charged for them all of them. So, but this is a member that got two thermostats. So you'll see the 327 is the full charge for two, and then they got a credit for one of them. The other way to do it is to do what we call bring your own device, where the member already has a smart thermostat. Um, it, they can do Ecobee. There's two types of Honeywell. They're Honeywell home thermostats, Emerson or an Amazon thermostat, and they can sign up through the same web page. They just say they already have one, and it kind of walks them through the process. They have to be in the program for a minimum of a year. I put notes on the account when they enroll. with the bring your own. I send them an email and thank them for signing up and tell them in about 60 days they'll get their sign up credit. We have them wait because initially we were doing it like as soon as they signed up, but truthfully, I don't think some of them realize what they're signing up for when they do it. Because I mean, and I'm guilty of it, like zipping through stuff when I'm enrolling, and I don't read all the fine print. But um, we had folks that signed up, we gave them their credit, and then they didn't want to be in the program, so then we have to back out the credit. So this way, it gives them several cycles of our thermostat events, so that they kind of understand what they've done. And then they get the credit. It's $100 for one, 150 total for two or more. So that's the credit they get for the initial sign up, and then everyone on their annual anniversary, they get $50 credit if they participated 60% of the time. And if they have two or more thermostats, they get $75 credit. Could we bump that up a little bit this year? Because we felt like those folks that have more than one thermostat should get an additional credit. That's all. Does anybody have any questions about how the program works as far as on the members end? Okay.
We talk about smart thermostat. Away from home. Cooler in the house.
In the winter, yeah.
There's tremendous energy savings
Mhm.
throughout the completely
Yeah.
decimated. Summer is surge. Surge. We'll do some surge. Got some changes in the surge bar and also the water heater warranty program.
Yep, I don't think we put that on there. So everybody know what our surge guard program is, kind of vaguely. So basically, we install a meter base surge protection device, and it protects the home from surges that come from the line. Doesn't protect the home if you have any other things outside. For instance, let's say you have copper wires still coming to your house for phone service, or you have a coax cable coming into your home for a cable. Um, Lightning could hit a tree. It happened at my house. Kind of plowed through the ground and got on my coax and burned up all my TVs. That's not covered because it didn't come through the surge device. Um, Another thing is if you have a pool or you have irrigation where you have control valves everywhere, it can actually come in on that as well. So what we advise people to do is have secondary protection. That would be the surge protectors you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot or places like that, just to protect your more sensitive equipment from those types of situations. But with our program, since we had started this program, it's been $5.95 a month. We had a price increase this month that started November 1st, and we increased the price $1. Why did we do that? So the units don't really cost anymore, but our cost of service is more expensive. Um, you know, Going out troubleshooting, doing the administrative part, installing them, that kind of thing. So when we evaluated the program, which we do every year, we weren't losing money, but our margins were razor thin. So we just felt increasing the price $1 a month wasn't too burdensome, considering that it's been 18 years since we started this program, or maybe longer, and we've never had a price increase. Um, 30 years. Okay, 30 years without a price increase. So, it's a dollar is a dollar. Anyway, we did send an email out to all our members who have surge protectors on their home. And out of the 1,100 or so people that we have surge guards on, we had 4 or 5 that said they wanted to discontinue service, which isn't too bad. Select, H2O Select, which is our water heater warranty program. We went from $7 to $8 for 50 gallons and below, and from $11 to $12 for anything above 50 gallons. We can't buy an 80-gallon tank anymore. So what we do is we put a 50 in with a mixing valve. We turn the setting up on the water heater to like super hot, and then that mixing valve will temper the water back down to the temperature you desire in your house. What that does is it gives you capacity of about 72 gallons instead of 50. So it kind of acts as an 80-gallon water heater. Um, and again, we had to make that change in the price due to program uh, margins being very low. Um, Water heaters have gone up. Water heater replacements have gone up price wise. The labor has gone up, so we've had to make that change. Now, what does that mean? So if you've got a 5 year, if you're inside of a 5 year commitment for your contract for H2O Select or a 3 year commitment for Surge, we will honor the price that you signed up for while you're under that contract period. But once the contract period is over, we will increase your price to the new pricing. For people who've been with us 10, 12 years, they're going to see the price increase immediately because they're no longer under a contract. Um, any questions on that? I wanted to circle back on a couple things. When we were talking about the dual fuel, the last class, somebody said, well, hey, what do you recommend if we have gas logs and one room is super hot and the thermostat never turns on? So people are using space heaters in the back of the house because it gets so cold back there. Well, the solution to that is if you have a smart thermostat, is you just go to the controls and you say, have the circulating fan run 15 minutes an hour. And so the circulating fan will come on, the unit won't come on. And basically, what it will do is it will circulate that cold and hot air around your house. It'll warm up the back part of your house without you having to use that space heater. Because as you can see from the graphic Eddie had earlier, even if the space heater only runs 12 hours a day, it's about $60 a month, just to run that little space heater. And, I don't know about you, but I've been in a room where a fireplace is in my house when the fireplace is running, it gets so hot in there about run you out. But if you just run that fan, all that heat goes to the other parts of your house and it cools your room off where it's more comfortable. The other thing is Eddie talked about the little loads. Sometimes those loads are so hidden, they're hard to find. An example of that is I did an energy audit for a person who had a shop and they had everything turned off, air compressor, everything, but they steady had this 1.5 kW load. And we looked and looked and looked, couldn't find it. Come to find out, they had an extension cord plugged into the block heater on a piece of equipment in the yard, like a backhoe. And because it was winter, they didn't want the block to freeze. And that thing was using 1500 watts. And so we finally figured it out, unplugged it, and their use went to zero. So, they were adamant they weren't using any energy, but you know, we found it. It just takes a little bit of time sometimes. Any questions on any of that? Any weird calls you've gotten you want some clarification with? Okay. Okay. Next slide, Eddie.
Trying to get all those. Look, y'all have done some of that. Capturing that information.
And so the next slide is what happens when someone who puts on a surge guard leaves and we have a new member in that home. Typically, that's the surge guard will transfer to the new account, I think, but the water heater stuff doesn't. Especially like on deceased patronage, where you've got a couple, the man dies, and the woman really probably needs that water heater support because they typically don't know a lot about it. Older ladies. So what we're trying to do is get you guys to at least ask them about it when they're changing the deceased patronage. And I know the screens aren't real conducive to making that happen, and I don't know how to fix that, but We'll just keep asking until we figure something out on that, because sometimes it's, oh, well, I thought I was on it. Well, you were, but when your husband died, we didn't continue it. But what we have done for folks is, let's say it's been a year, 18 months. We'll say, all right, we're going to get you to sign up now. You have to pay us for the 12 or 18 months of premiums you missed, and it will be as if nothing ever happened. So let's just use 10 as a round number. 10 months times $8 would be $80 that they would get. They would be right with the program. They get a new 3-year agreement or a 5-year agreement with the Select. Um, and we would go fix their water heater and not charge them anything other than them making up the premiums. Probably don't want to go more than about 2 years out, because you just start, it's a bigger sum of money. But especially for deceased patronage people, we try to look out for them as best we can, and we've done that, multiple times, to help members out. Next one is H2O Advantage. Sometimes we get a referral from the member service group, or the contact center. What's the payoff? And so I'm going to kind of show you what you can see, and you can figure it out yourself if you can't get one of us. So in the vault, there will be either a H2O Select document or some document where it shows the contract where we paid the plumber to do any kind of work to it or whatever. And this H2 Advantage form will be in there. And you'll see down here, 6 months at $174.17. So the payment's $174.17. The duration's 6 months. So you just go into their billing and look and see how many payments have been billed. And you just subtract that number off and multiply it times the 174, and boom, you got your answer. And so that way, or you can say, well, you've only got one payment left and it will come on the next bill or whatever. That way you can kind of just tell them up front without making them wait. And I think it's just a little bit better customer service, maybe get a better rating because we're, quicker to respond, that kind of thing. And again, in the, I guess this is the billing page, you can see that the charge is there as well. And so that's pretty fast and easy for you to see. If you're looking for home advantage loan, typically there's a block down there somewhere that will tell you what the balance is for that. You may not be able to see all the information, but you can at least get the balance by hovering over it. And it won't be exact because there is interest on home advantage, but for H2O Advantage, there's no interest, so you don't have to figure that out. Any,
There was a question about the placement program, and of course we Asia Advantage. It's wonderful that we found out with like plumbers and finance, and our plumbers do a great job. They also are competitive in the market. They're lower than what you're putting it in.
and there too with the home advantage, H2O Advantage. A question came up in the last one. Well, what if the member has a water heater problem and they're not part of Select? Can we still help them? Yes. The difference is they would just have to pay for whatever the repairs are. But if they have a load management switch on their water heater, they could sign up for Select when the plumber goes out there. We waive the 30 days for repairs, and they can get their water heater fixed at no charge. They're just signing up for a 5-year contract on H2O Select. We won't replace the water heater by waiving the 30 days. We won't waive the 30 days for that. So they would have to wait 30 days and be without. And if we know the water heater's broken or is leaking, we won't cover it no matter what. Sometimes we'll have people, they'll call and ask a few questions, and the next thing you know, 31 days, they call, oh, my water heater's out, and go back and look at contact tracker and say, oh, well, how long is your water heater? We're not going to cover that. That's kind of gaming the system. So again, this is kind of how to do that. Does anybody have any questions? You guys are so quiet. The other group asked lots of questions. We should have waited and gave you lunch afterwards if you asked the question. Or I'll keep the lunches up here in the front, and when you ask a question, you get a lunch. Okay, the last thing I think I'm going to talk about is the EV charger loan program, which is a brand new program that we just started. It is a program that helps members get EV chargers in their home. We do it on bill financing, just like we do the H2O Advantage and Home Advantage. It's a 5% loan. Um, and we will do up to $10,000 for 5 years. But it's up to the member how long they want to go, within that 5 year period. And the way it works is there's an online form. They fill it out, and it says it's a loan application. Tamika will process the application. If they're approved, we will let them know they're approved, um, and we will contact one of our partners, which is Boss Energy and Super Green just changed their name to Shine. And so we'll contact one of them. They'll go out, give them a price. They'll sign off on the price. We'll let Tamika know what that price is. She will get the loan closing documents and she will go do a loan closing with them, just like she will with a home advantage loan. As soon as they sign everything, we'll contact the contractor and they'll go out and install it. Once the unit is installed and functioning, we'll go out and do an inspection to verify it. The member will sign a form saying they are, basically accepting the work. And we will process it on our end and start doing the on-bill financing for it. We had our first one this week. We had a guy who applied, he got approved. We got the contractor out there to give him an estimate or a quote, and we're doing the loan closing today. So that one happened pretty fast. And so we're looking forward to getting them online with it and getting the kinks worked out of the process.
That was like on.
Yeah, the charger is like $695 for a 15 kW charger, which is the same size as what's out here. And the labor was a little under 1,000. So, 1,600, 1,700, something like that. There is a $1,000 tax credit for putting in a home charger, but it's kind of tricky. It's 30% of the cost or $1,000, whichever's less. He was. Did you? Okay. Well, I think Tamika was headed to see him today. So, okay. Yeah, she's over there doing the loan closing today. As soon as she's satisfied everything's good, I'll contact Shine and they'll set up an appointment to go put it in. It'll just be like Home Advantage. That's correct. That's correct. Tamika will determine that. Tamika's really good at it. Not only do we look at the credit score they have with us, we actually pull a credit report on them too. And so if they're a D, they're not going to qualify. Yeah. Some of these things are like cash only. Yeah, they're probably not going to qualify. So, how do we handle that, Eddie? Do we care?
They could have a 750 credit score with other people and a D with us. I find it. They go somewhere else. They can get a credit. They're not paying us. So. We're making money on their interest. We're getting 1.5% late fee every.
and that is a fixed 5%.
I'll be doing financing it. Same funds we manage them for. And then we are headed down the path of starting up the Digitally AI bill disaggregation service. That is, that they can actually use our data for a member's bills and determine what is driving the bills, whether it be like a base use in the home. Is it a heat pump that's running, or electric resistive heat? Sometimes it could be a pool or something running all the time. And this is a service that we're doing with NISC, and it will be offered to all our retail residential accounts. And that should be like the first of next year, get up and started. And I have a video to show on it. I'm gonna get out the PowerPoint and then show it right afterward, about a 3-minute video explaining it. And talking about the 3-part rate and the demand, we're looking at our time of day base rates we have now. When we go through this, we're going through the rate study, and when we get finished up, that those folks that's on the time of day that's based on volume of kilowatt hours they purchase during the peak times, on peak and off peak, will be changed over to this 3-part rate. When we say a 3-part rate, it is, right now we have a 2-part rate. That's basically the monthly service charge or daily service charge, plus the cost for electricity, the energy, the kilowatt hours that the members purchase. The 3-part rate is going to be the monthly service charge, the same thing. The cost per kilowatt hours is going to be much lower. And then there's going to be a demand charge. And demand is related to what is the maximum kilowatt hour a member used during those peak hours that Loretta is typically doing the load control and smart thermostats, or Tim with the water heater load control program. The wintertime from 6 to 9 a.m., those hours are our peak hours. So all month long, the MDM is looking for what is the maximum kilowatt hour use in that 1 hour throughout the entire period of the billing period. And you use that for your peak demand, and that's times a cost. And that's going to be a component of your bill. It's the most fair rate for our members, actually, because every member as peak is going to be related to our wholesale peak. And so the actual cost is more cost-based rate. The way rates are also designed is, if we change the rate over for every member to that rate, we'll collect the same amount of money as we do on the same rate we have right now. So it's like no change overall. I mean, individually we may pay a little bit more, but as a collective, it's going to be exactly the same, from that standpoint. But it gives a member the opportunity to modify their power use during the peak and actually have significant savings on their monthly power bill. So actions do speak to a lower power bill. And it's just graphically showing the summer load. We're looking for the peak kilowatt hour use in the afternoons, and then in the winter it's from 6 to 9 a.m. mornings. We played a video also for understanding the peak rates, and this was a collaborative effort between our statewide, our Central Electric Power Cooperative, our wholesale power supplier, and then the co-ops employees got together and created 5 educational videos, and then also in Spanish, to help members understand the demand-based rates. And talk about finish up on the energy tips and talking to members on it. I put the summer tip slide on here, but some of it obviously works with the winter also. Is the cooling or heating system working properly? The cooling system, is it running late into the night and not cutting off? Same thing with the heat. Is it running more this year than it was last year? Outdoor condensate drain line in the summertime for the unit, the cooling is actually taking the humidity out the air and then draining it out through that condensate line. If it's stopped up, or if the coil is not charged properly, it won't be condensing any moisture whatsoever. So that's a problem with the unit. In the wintertime, that's not an issue, and that's not going on at all. Is the unit serviced, filter changed, outdoor coils cleaned? And you need to have, in the summer, a 15-degree temperature difference. In the winter, it's more like 20-degree temperature difference. So typically, if it's 70 inside return air, you need to be around 90 degrees for your out supply for the heat pump itself. So a nice warm supply air. And again, too low setting, too high a setting, the member's bill is going to be driven up, on that. And the strip heat is going to run a whole lot more at a 40-degree setting. If you set your thermostat at 75, 76, 77 degrees in the winter versus 70 all the way down to 70. So it's going to be a whole lot higher power bill, with those really warm settings. And our team. Oh, let me get out of this control tab. Go to the Vigily. Okay. Yep. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay. You can do it through. Oh, got to go away now. It's not running. So, okay, this is the intro to Vigily.